Bhagavaram Samma Sambuddho Swakato Ayena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipano Yasa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Dhammayang Bhagavanta Sandhamam Sasangham Ime Sakare Yadara Aropite Abhipujayana Sadhuno Bhante Bhagava Sunjira Varini Bhutopi Pajima Janatanu Kambananasa Ime Sakare Dugata Banaka Rapute Patikannatu Amma Kandi Garata Etaya Sukaya Arahant Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhan Bhagavatam Abhivadi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami Vayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Bhagavanganama Garangaro Mase Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So the back row there, you're far too close. You're too close to each other and you must come forward a bit. So there's room this way, so you can all budge along a bit. So make sure you're sitting and away from the back wall. Don't be tempted to lean back on the wall. So everyone here, everyone online, nice to see all of you again. Please sit up well and be still. Close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, you leave behind everything you've been doing, everything you've been thinking about, everything you've been worrying about. You put it all down, and now you be absolutely still. And we commence, as usual, by bringing to mind the Buddha, recollecting our great teacher and inspiration, reminding ourselves of his perfect mind. That was a mind that was clear of all defilement, all corruption. And not only that, but far away, far distant from anything of that nature. It was a mind, too, of infinite compassion. A truly extraordinary and wonderful being, the Buddha, perfect in knowledge and conduct. And with a mind, too, that was of infinite compassion. Now remember, whenever you think of the Buddha, whenever you happen to see anything that reminds you of the Buddha, remember and be inspired to do your best to cleanse your mind too of all greed, hatred, and delusion, and free yourselves of all suffering. And realize that to do that is to do yourselves an enormous kindness. And remember that as you walk this sometimes difficult path, to be kind to yourself, to be kind to others around you, to be caring of yourself and others. And also to rejoice in your merits and in what you are doing to help yourself to free your mind of these unfortunate tendencies. Now, before we go any further, we must remind ourselves of the nature of our human condition. Because we've been born, ever since the day we were born, we've been aging, getting older. At first, we've welcomed that, but as time has carried on, we've not been so happy at getting older. But there it is. It's happening. And we've also been and are liable to become unwell at almost any time, to catch something, break something. We're subject to illness. And then, because we've been born, we're going to die. All of us. And we have to face up to that. This is the nature of our human condition. Aging, sickness, and death. But we do have the ability to grow in understanding and freedom. So long as we make the effort to train our minds. Minds are not fixed. They can be trained. And when we train our minds in a certain way, our understanding of the nature of our existence grows and develops. And with that comes freedom. So, check that you're sitting up well, body and mind alert, and prepared to be absolutely still now. No fidgeting, nothing at all. And quite deliberately gather and concentrate your mind. And establish mindfulness of just what you're doing at this moment. And what are you doing? You're sitting and you're breathing. Now let it just be the breathing that you're mindful of. And that you're concentrating on. Be quite clear about just where and how you are perceiving the breath, where you feel the breath. Whether it be at the nostrils, somehow over the heart, or at the abdomen. Wherever it is for you, wherever it's clear, stay there. And be mindful of each in-breath and each out-breath. Breath after breath after breath. Do your best to keep your mind following each and every breath. But should you notice that your mind has wandered, that you're dreaming or thinking, or if you're disturbed by some ache or pain, or any kind of discomfort or sound or anything, as soon as you notice, as soon as you are aware of what is happening, that in fact your mind has moved, then be mindful of what you're experiencing. Be mindful of that feeling that you call pain. Be mindful of that dream, those thoughts, that train of thinking. Observe it, watch it, and let it go. And find the breath again. And again, try to keep your mind there, following each in-breath each out-breath. And if your mind wanders again, as soon as you notice, be mindful of whatever you're experiencing. You might like to say in your mind, just knowing, knowing, knowing. Observe it, let it go. So you've mostly been sitting very well, very still, very peacefully. And I'd like you to continue doing that for just a little while longer. But while I'm speaking, I'd like you to listen, to just practice the art of listening. And that's a very simple practice. It means you just listen. That's all. But you remain quite still and alert. Now, I want to begin tonight by telling you something of what I told one of my prison groups this afternoon. Because I noticed them coming into the meeting in a pretty shambolic fashion. So I told them off. And I reminded them that they were coming to do some very special work. And that the place where you do this special work is a sacred space. It's a sacred space because of the work that you're doing. And the work that you're doing is to develop and indeed to transform your mind and attitude for the better, for the very much better. And that's hugely deserving of respect. So your workplace is important. Now, in the temple that I lived in so long ago, with Ajahn Chah, that's the figure at the other side of the shrine, he was very insistent that whenever we entered the meeting hall, or indeed when we went to our hut, or visited another monk's hut, that when we came in, we should put our things down and bow 3 times. In the meeting hall, of course, there was an enormous shrine. And so we would face that and bow 3 times. And then another 3 times in the direction of the teacher's seat, his seat. He was very insistent that we perform these simple acts of respect. And of course, it's a point of mindfulness too. You stop. You stop what you've been doing. You put your things down. It becomes a point of recollection. and it's invaluable. So some of you, I can see, are new here. And that's why I felt I should say something along these lines to begin tonight. And by the way, for those of you at home, those of you online, please also treat wherever you're sitting as a sacred space, your workplace, the place where you do profound and important work. Now, I came across a comment the other day about the Buddha's early life. Some of you know the story of the Buddha. And you know that before he left home and went in search of enlightenment, he was married and he and his wife had a child. So the person making the comment was really concerned about what happened to that child. Well, what happened was that sometime after his enlightenment, the Buddha went back to the city where he'd grown up to visit his father, and of course, his former wife also made an appearance with their son. And as he was leaving, as the Buddha was leaving, she sent the son, the young boy, just a little over 6 years old, after his father, to demand of him his inheritance. The child followed the Buddha. And eventually the Buddha asked one of his chief disciples to give the child the going forth, the pabaja, we call it, as a samanera. And so this boy, his name was Rahula, was the very first samanera. Now he was taken care of by the two chief disciples, Sariputta and Moggallana. Then one day, the Buddha came to see him. By then he was about 11. And the child was very respectful of his father. He went and got water, a basin of water for his father to wash his feet, and paid his respects and sat obediently in front of him. When the Buddha had washed his feet, there was only a little water left in the basin, which the Buddha then, of course, threw away. And he said to the boy to be very careful, to never knowingly or intentionally tell a lie. When you do so, you're throwing away your spiritual life, just as that little water. And furthermore, your spiritual life becomes empty, just as the basin was then empty. And the Buddha went on at some length to impress on the boy the importance of truthfulness. And then he asked the boy, if he knew what a mirror was for, which of course he did, and he said so, and said that it was for looking at yourself. Yes, just so. You must look at what you want to do or say, what you are doing or saying, and what you have done or said. And if you ever see that any of that was harmful, hurtful, that damaged any person or creature, then you must never do that again. He didn't say any more about the use of a mirror to look at yourself in. But I'd like to add that the practice of meditation becomes just like that. You are holding up a mirror to yourself. And in the practice of meditation, Buddhist meditation, concentrating your mind, observing when your mind wanders, when thoughts and feelings distract you, you are watching yourself. Cultivating mindfulness in daily life, you are watching yourself. And when you watch yourself, of course, you become more careful about what you say and do. But you also begin to understand yourself better. Now, when we practice meditation, of course, we have to concentrate our minds. This evening, concentrating your mind on being mindful of the in and out breath, for some of you might have been a bit challenging. If it's new to you, you will have discovered that you don't have as much control over your mind as you thought, I expect. It's a very simple thing to do, really, to keep your mind on the breathing. And yet, it's not so easy when you try it. Because generally, we're not used to doing something like this. We're not used to concentrating. So we have to learn. We have to train our minds. We have to train our minds to concentrate and to be mindful, to attend to whatever we're doing or saying, to being present. Now that does, of course, make us rather more careful of what we say and do, but it also enables us to notice the nature of our experience. So yes, hopefully, your mind remains fairly quiet when you concentrate on your breathing. But when it does move, when you do think of something, when you do catch yourself dreaming or aware of some ache or pain, when you bring mindfulness to that, when you observe that, then you begin to learn something about the nature of your thinking or feeling or whatever it is that has disturbed your concentration. And this is most important. what you will notice in the first place is that whatever it was is changing. It changes. Nothing stays the same. Now, I've often said here that, of course, if you're taught that things change, you will say, yes, of course they do. I know they do. What's so special about that? But we don't live like that. We don't live with that real understanding of change, of impermanence. And we would rather things to be solid, to be real and permanent. And we tend to treat them as if they were, which is why they become so desirable or so repulsive, and why they can trouble us so much. And by things, I don't mean just objects, but anything at all. So this is Buddhist meditation. Of course, it goes further than that. And concentration, keeping your mind reasonably still at least, is important. But I hope you understand now why I am so insistent that you are still. Only then can you observe the desire to move, or the feeling of your discomfort, or your wandering mind, or anything. So that's enough from me for tonight. We'll sit for just a moment or two longer, and in these closing moments, please focus your minds on loving kindness. Loving kindness for yourself and for all beings everywhere. May you and all beings be well and happy. May you and all beings be free from all suffering. May you and all beings realize for yourselves the secure peace of Nibbana. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavanta Dhammo Dhammang Namasami.
Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghan Namami.
So, very good to see you all. Thank you all very much for coming. Have a good week, and I hope we'll meet again soon. Good night.